Aloha, everyone. This is Tony with the Transformation Space. Today, I want to talk about asking for help. This is a tough one for a lot of us. I, in particular, have very much struggled with this throughout my life. And as usual, as I discuss the ins and outs of why it's important to ask for help as a powerful tool in transformation, I'll share a little life experience. Um, this is a tough one. For those of us that feel quite independent, and that our independence and ability to take care of ourselves and be the person we need to rely on is a feeling of empowerment. It can be a big disguise, and lying underneath that may be the inability to allow others in and be vulnerable. And because being vulnerable, it feels very unsafe for some of us that have experienced danger or unsafe environments, and allowing your emotional guard down or physical guard down can be very unnerving, and that does not allow us to ask for help. It oftentimes doesn't allow us to accept help. One of the things that I experienced with this too is I believed that if I asked for help or allowed someone to help me, I was under some sort of obligation that I owed them something in return. And this went all the way from financial to emotional to intimacy. I never wanted to be in the position of feeling obligated to do anything. And with that, I never asked anybody for help for long periods of time, a long part of my life. And it's lonely. It's really lonely. It doesn't. We just, we can override that feeling of loneliness in the moment and just say, I'm fine on my own. I can do this myself. But ultimately, it's you're missing a very big, important piece of the human experience, and that is the ability to connect with people on that vulnerable level and being open and feeling safe. And so part of that is building emotional safety for ourselves so that we can feel vulnerable enough to ask for help and not feel like we're obligated to something in return if someone does help us. Because ultimately, the choice to help another person is the person who's doing the helping's choice. Those of us that are asking for it or are provided with that help, it's not in our control whether someone helps us or not. And it's not our responsibility to feel obligated in some sort of reciprocation. Although reciprocation of help is a wonderful feeling when we can do that with someone that we care about and that cares about us. So in the context of transformation, when we're changing or making life choices that are difficult and require a lot of support, it's really important that we can ask for help, because this is not always something that we can do on our own. And even if we do want to do this on our own or make these changes on our own or whatever we want to do, we are still lacking the outside perspective of others on what we're doing, which is really important. The concept of who we see ourselves as from our perspective is only one perspective. And so when we ask someone for help and they can give us an outside perspective on how they see us, it's insight into how we are and who we are. Because we now have this ability to say, okay, this is what I see myself doing this is how someone else sees me making these changes, and do these two things come together, and are they equal, or are they opposing each other, and what might I need to do? So the ability to ask for help is really helpful in aspects of perspective. The other one is it really gives us this ability to build different skills and knowledge around what we're doing and how we're changing. And so, for instance, if we're transforming the way or the area that we live, how great is it to get perspective from people who maybe have done this before or have had this experience of moving to a new place or changing their living environment, and what worked for them, what didn't work for them. How did they make these changes? And by listening to some of these stories from other people's experiences, it can sometimes trigger ideas for us as we're making these changes. And it's always important to think about, does what the other person is sharing with me, does it resonate with me? Do I feel excited about it? Does it give me a good feeling? Does it make me enthusiastic about what I'm doing? And those are all emotional responses that can tell us that this is the right thing to do. Maybe try this out in an exploratory way. And exploration is another piece of it's just a reminder to know that we can explore and try out anything we want. And as we get into whatever we're exploring, we have the ability to say, hey, this isn't for me after all. I've tried a few different aspects of this experience or this location or this space, and after all decide, or relationship, and I've decided it's not for me. And we have the right to do that. We're not under obligation to commitment for the rest of our lives to anybody. So also with asking for help, the emotional support needed sometimes, that when we're going through something massive change-wise, especially relationship issues or career issues or financial issues, being able to be supported by others emotionally is huge. It can make or break us sometimes. I mean, supporting yourself emotionally by yourself is really not a pleasant task, and not always possible, because we're in whatever it is we're experiencing. So it's difficult to separate what we're doing from how we feel about it. And so having someone else there to be able to share those emotions with, share the fear with, speaking it out loud, giving it away, it's really incredible things that can be very important in a transformation when we're asking for help. This also imparts an incredible amount of freedom from isolation too. I mean, it's very isolating when we feel like we're the only ones that can be there for ourselves. And I have an experience, experienced with this quite a bit in many years, and it was very lonely. And although I had the external, or created the external strength to say, I'm not lonely, I'm not alone, I can do whatever I need to do, internally, when things got quiet, it was difficult. Which is why we succumb to all kinds of different behaviors to distract ourselves from being present. Again, back to any sort of addictive behavior and isolation. Isolation is a big part of how that aspect works in our lives. So asking for help can be a great way to overcome isolation. Plus, we just tend to have a sense of accountability when we tell someone else something that we're doing. For example, I wanted to go to school. I wanted to go back to school, and when I was settled with the idea of doing that, it was important for me to say to people in my life, hey, I'm planning on going, starting my undergrad, in March of 2020, and that's when it was. And I needed to say that because when I said it, people are going to ask, right? People are going to say, hey, how's school going? Or did you start school or whatever? And for me, I tend to get a sense of, I want to be able to engage with those questions afterwards and say, yes, I did this thing I said I was going to do, because that feels good, right? Even when it's difficult. And so, think about the goals and ideas and plans that you may have to make a change or transform aspects of your life, and assess, are they reasonable, right? Is this something that we can actually do? And break them down and talk about them, and let other people hold you accountable. It's a wonderful feeling to have others ask about things that we talk about doing, and it's motivation to get them done too, and that's great. And the other big thing about asking for help is in the process of doing this, you're modeling vulnerability. And I spoke about behavior modeling in another blog post, and there's something really important about modeling behavior, because when we act in certain ways, it shows other people the potential of what can be done. My doing says that that thing that I'm doing is possible, and it may be something that someone else felt was impossible. It's important to be the light, the shining light, and sometimes that means saying, I can't do this on my own, I need your help, and letting someone help you. And as someone who just wanted to help and didn't want to take anybody else's help, if that sounds familiar to anyone, put yourself in that position when you offer help and you really want to help someone and they just won't let you. Absolutely not. I don't need your help. How does that feel as someone who likes to help other people? It doesn't feel good, right? It feels good to let people help. It feels good to let people help you, because the people that want to help, it feels good to them to help. And so it's a reciprocation of asking for help and providing help and support. And that's just it's part of healthy relationships, giving back and forth, responding to one another, being available. So think about this. Think about asking for help when you're going through changing anything, making a transformation of some sort, big or small. On the smallest level, I'm going to take it back to the small one when someone wants bangs, right? I want to cut a bang, and instead of just being independent and doing it on their own, we come in and have someone do it that can help them do it, right? And there's lots of people we have in our lives that are experts and really interested in doing many things that we maybe are interested in as well. And those are the people we want to ask for help. So start small. Ask for a small amount of help in a small area that you feel like, you can be a little bit vulnerable and not have any too much openness that you're not comfortable with. Start small and work your way up. Okay, until next time.